Hello, it's Grandma Karen. Now that you have done your homework and learned about some of the buttons and dials on your sewing machine, we are ready to learn about the presser foot and how to use your hands to sew. You will actually practice sewing on paper in our next lesson. In this video, we will be looking at the Bernina 440 Quilters Edition. This is your accessory box. There are lots of small things in it. Today we will look at the presser feet. Be careful to always put things back in the box. They are easily lost and are expensive to replace. Set the box upright, and on the back you're going to pull out the little feet, the little legs, and then it will stand. Now we're going to open the doors, and to take a presser foot out, you just lift up and then pull out. To put the foot back in the box, tilt it up over these little knobs and then just let it fall back in place. Then to take out a bobbin, you're going to just push down on that and the bobbin comes out. To put it back in, you just push. Your accessory box attaches to the back of the sewing machine. You're going to put the presser foot down, and there is a little slit in here. You're going to turn this around and you're going to put that where the presser foot is and just push it in place, and it will store on your box, on your sewing machine when you put it away really nicely. Now to take this off, there's a little button you push right there. You push it, take it like that, and it will come off. Your machine came with about 9 different presser feet. There's one for putting in zippers, one for making buttonholes, and other special sewing tasks. Today we will look at the all-purpose foot. It is also called the zigzag foot. Your guidebook calls it the reverse pattern foot. I will usually call it the all-purpose foot. This is a close-up of the all-purpose foot. Each presser foot has a number on it. The manual will tell you the name of each of the foot by its number. The all-purpose foot is the number 1 foot. The blue arrow shows the foot number. The yellow arrow is pointing to an indented line in the front of the foot. It is directly in front of the needle in the center of the foot. We will use this as a guideline. The green arrow points to a little slit in the presser foot. We will use this slit to put the top thread under the presser foot when we start to sew. The red arrow shows the oval-shaped opening where the needle goes into the fabric. Let's look at the bottom of the foot. The foot on the left has the oval hole found on the zigzag, or the all-purpose foot. The oval hole has room for the needle to swing left and right to do a zigzag stitch or a decorative stitch. The foot on the right has a very narrow hole. This is not the all-purpose foot. It is the straight stitch foot. It can get confusing when I say foot. When I say foot in the videos, I'm usually referring to the presser foot that goes on right here. When I talk about the foot control or the foot pedal, I will call it by its full name, foot control or foot pedal. These are not zigzag or all-purpose feet. Some of these may have come with your machine. Others are optional presser feet that you can buy. Notice that each has a number on it. We may talk about some of these in later lessons. Here are some close-up photos. At the top of the presser foot there is a cone-shaped hole. On the sewing machine there is a little ice cream cone shape that's sticking down. This is where the presser foot gets attached to the machine. Remember the presser foot clamping lever from our last lesson? The green arrow is pointing to it. It is used to hold the presser foot in place. It's a good idea to have a small bowl or a small plate next to your sewing machine when you sew. You place small parts of your sewing machine in the plate so they don't fall on the floor. This plate has the presser foot on it that I took off the machine. I also use this plate to put small pieces of thread or fabric in, sort of like a little trash plate. We take the presser foot off when we change to another foot, when we clean and oil the machine, and when we change the needle. To replace the foot, the presser foot and the needle need to be in the up position. Tilt the foot to the side, matching it with the cone shape in the machine. Straighten the foot, and then you take the clamping lever and you put it down. And that's how the foot attaches. To take it off, you pull this little lever up again, the clamping lever, you tilt the foot to the side, and it comes off. Now that you understand the presser feet, you're almost ready to sew in our next lesson where we're going to actually sew on paper. First, we need to talk about something you will use to sew all the time, and that's your hands. Each of your hands has a job when you're sewing. It doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed, each has its own job. Your left hand is the steering hand. When you steer a car, you steer gently and just a little bit at a time. We don't jerk the wheel to make corrections. It is a small, gentle change in our steering. As you sew, you will do the same thing. You will steer or guide the fabric so you can sew on a line or sew with the edge of the fabric along a line on your sewing machine. It's important to be accurate. When you steer, you use your left hand and you will steer gently and move or steer the fabric a little bit to make corrections. Your right hand is the straightening hand. One thing the right hand does is take out pins, even if you're left-handed. The right hand or straightening hand prevents the fabric from folding and puckering on the bottom of a seam. It makes sure the edges of the fabric are matching up. It rearranges the fabric and prevents it from falling off the table. It also arranges the fabric, or this paper in this case, so it doesn't bump into the right side of the throat of the machine. It helps so the fabric doesn't get caught where it shouldn't. Understanding what your straightening hand, the right hand, does may seem confusing for you now. You don't need to remember all of this. You will gradually learn what your hands do as we learn to sew on the machine. I will remind you as we learn. Your mentor will also remind you. Just remember, left hand steers or guides and right hand straightens and removes pins. We will talk about this and practices in the coming videos. You've heard me describe a lot of things today, but your homework is not very hard. For your homework, you need to show your teacher, your parent, mentor, that you understand and can do the following things. You can pause the video or you can take a photo of the homework. 1. Find the all-purpose foot. 2. Take the presser foot off the machine. 3. Put the foot back on the machine. 4. Tell your mentor what your left hand does while you're sewing at the sewing machine. 5. Tell your mentor what your right hand does while you're sewing at the sewing machine. I'm excited because in our next lesson, we will get to practice all you have learned so far. You're going to sew on paper with no thread. We will also talk about sewing fast and sewing slow, and you will get to practice using your steering hand and your straightening hand. See you next time. And here's a note for the mentor. For the next lesson, you will need to set up the sewing machine on the table with the chair that you and your student found to be the best place. Have the sewing machine unthreaded. No thread in the bobbin, no thread on top. Print out the 3 practice sheets or look at them and draw your own. They are listed under the link to video 4.